There is a 1978 Ford F-250 sitting in a shop 2 counties over from me right now. Lift kit, oversized tires, a rebuilt 460 under the hood. And the man who owns it does not know that if he wrecks it tomorrow, his insurance company can hand him a check for exactly $0. Most truck owners think a policy is a policy. It is not. Insurers are not lying to you. They already decided, quietly, months ago, which parts of your truck they will never pay to fix. So, what are they refusing to cover in 2026? And why does nobody find out until the tow truck is already backing up the driveway? My name is Roy Callahan. I have spent 34 years around classic trucks. I ran a body shop for 22 of those years, and for the last 12, I have worked as a certified collector vehicle appraiser. When your truck gets totaled, I am sometimes the guy the insurance company calls to tell them what it was really worth. I have stood in driveways next to grown men crying over a claim that just got denied for a reason nobody ever explained to them. I used to think insurance companies were just being cheap. I was wrong. Most of the time, the truck owner never read the fine print, and neither did I for the first 10 years. I lost my own claim once. 1981 Chevy C10. Somebody backed into it in a parking lot. My adjuster looked at the tires and asked one question. Were these on the truck when we wrote the policy? I said no. I had put on a set of 35-inch tires 2 months earlier and never called it in. Saved my receipts. Thought that made me covered. It did not. The claim on the tires got denied on the spot. And the rest of the estimate got knocked down too. Because once an adjuster catches one undeclared modification, they start looking hard at everything else. That was the day I started paying attention to what these policies actually say, instead of what I assumed they said. Here's the truck feature almost nobody thinks to mention when they call for a quote: the lift kit. If your truck sits higher than it did when it rolled off the factory floor, that is a modification. And modifications have to be declared by name before anything happens, not after. I have seen a policy pay out in full on a truck with a 6-inch lift because the owner told his agent the day he installed it. I have seen the same size lift get an entire claim denied because the owner figured the agent already knew, since anybody could see it in the driveway. Insurance does not work off what anybody could see. It works off what got written down in the file. Quick word before I go further. What I know about these trucks and these policies, there is more of it than fits in any one video. I put the whole of it into a book you can buy in the pinned comment below. The book is the long version. If you want it, it is there. I will not mention it again. The second thing that trips people up is the tires that come with that lift. Bigger tires change your stopping distance, they change your rollover risk, they change how your bumper lines up with the car in front of you in a crash. An underwriter looks at oversized tires the same way a banker looks at a missed payment. It is a red flag that says, go find out more before you hand over any money. If you never told them and something happens, the words they use are material misrepresentation. That is a fancy way of saying you left something out that would have changed the deal. So the deal is off, and they do not have to pay a nickel toward the part you left out. I have watched a $32,000 truck get a check for $11,000 because the tires were never on the paperwork. And the owner had to sit there and listen to the adjuster explain it like it was his fault for not knowing something nobody ever told him. So why does this keep happening to good people who are not trying to pull anything over on anybody? Because most classic truck owners think insurance is about the truck. It is not. It is about the paperwork that describes the truck. The truck sitting in your driveway and the truck sitting in your insurance file are two different pieces of property as far as a claims adjuster is concerned. And only one of those two trucks gets a check written for it. The industry knows this. They are not going out of their way to explain it to you, because every gap between the real truck and the paper truck is a claim they do not have to pay. Nobody at the company is sitting in a back room twirling a mustache about it. It is just how the math works out in their favor, quietly, year after year, one undeclared lift kit at a time. Here is the part that should make you a little angry. None of this is a secret. It is written into the contract you signed. But the contract is 30 pages of small print, and the agent selling you the policy gets paid the same commission whether you understand page 14 or not. I do not think most agents are trying to trick anybody. I think most of them are moving fast, writing 40 policies a week and assuming you will call if you change something. The problem is, you do not know what counts as a change worth calling about, and neither did I, until it cost me $11,000 on a truck I built with my own 2 hands, over 3 winters in an unheated garage. The honest version of this whole thing is simple, and it took me a decade to see it plainly. The company selling you a cheap classic truck rate and the company writing you a check after a wreck are the same company, but they are playing two different games. The cheap rate exists because they are betting your truck sits in a garage most of the year, stock, unmolested, driven to one car show a month. The second you lift it, swap the tires, drop in a different motor, or start driving it like a work truck, you have quietly changed the bet without telling the house, and the house does not owe you winnings on a bet you never actually placed. This is also why the carrier you choose matters as much as the paperwork itself. A big box standard insurer writes policies for sedans and minivans all day long, and a modified classic truck does not fit neatly into their spreadsheet, so they either price it high or find a reason to walk away from a claim. The specialty collector carriers, names like Haggerty, Grundy, and American Collectors, exist specifically because they understand that a lift kit or an engine swap does not automatically make a truck a bad risk. It just makes it a truck that needs to be written down correctly from day one. I have had clients switch carriers and pay less for better coverage simply because they finally worked with somebody who asked the right questions up front instead of finding the wrong answers after a wreck. So let me walk you through what I have learned sits on the refuse list in 2026, feature by feature, so you are not the next man standing in his driveway wondering why the check is so small. The first one we already covered, lift kits. The fix is simple, and it costs you nothing but a phone call. Every time you change ride height, you call your agent that same week and you say the words out loud, "I have a lift kit." Get it written into the policy as an endorsement, sometimes called a custom parts and equipment endorsement, CPE for short. That single form, usually a page and a half, is the difference between a truck that pays out and a truck that does not. The second is the tires and wheels riding under that lift. Same rule applies. Standard policies pay to replace what came stock from the factory and nothing more. If you are running anything bigger, get the exact size and the brand written into your file, and keep the receipt somewhere real, not a shoebox on a shelf that gets water damage the one summer your basement floods. I keep mine in a $12 accordion folder from the office supply store, one pocket per truck. And I photograph every receipt with my phone the same day I get it, so there is a date stamp nobody can argue with 6 years down the road. The third is the engine. This one catches restorers the hardest, because it feels like the most personal upgrade a man can make to his own truck. If your truck rolled off the line with one engine and you dropped in something different, an LS swap, a bigger crate motor, anything that is not the numbers matching original, that changes your agreed value completely. Agreed value is the number you and the insurer shook hands on before anything ever happened, usually backed by a written appraisal. Swap the engine without telling them, and you have quietly turned an agreed value truck into a truck they can argue about after the fact, because the thing sitting in the wreck no longer matches the thing described on the paper they are holding. The fourth is anything touching emissions. Pulled catalytic converters, deleted systems, aftermarket tunes that switch off emissions controls to squeeze out more power. This is not just an insurance problem. It is federal law, plain and simple. Tampering with emissions equipment is illegal on public roads, and once something is illegal, no insurer in the country has to pay a dime toward it. No matter how good your relationship with your agent is, or how many years you have been a loyal customer. The fifth is mileage. Classic and collector policies are cheap for one specific reason. They assume you are not driving the truck to work every day like a commuter car. Most of them cap you somewhere around 2,500 to 5,000 miles a year. Sometimes with seasonal storage required on top of that. Garaged all winter, off the road entirely in the coldest months. Drive it like a daily driver. Run errands in it, use it to haul lumber every weekend, and get in a wreck. And the insurer can pull your own odometer readings and say plainly, this was never the truck we agreed to cover under this kind of policy. The sixth is off-road and track use. That beautiful stretch of trail behind your property, or the drag strip you take the truck to twice a summer to see what that rebuilt motor can really do, none of that is covered under a standard classic policy, full stop. Track day coverage exists as a real product, but it is a separate add-on you have to ask for by name. Nobody offers it to you across the counter. You have to already know it exists before you can even ask the right question. The seventh is everything hanging off the front and back of the truck that did not come stock from the factory floor. Winches, grill guards, light bars, aftermarket bumpers. Every one of these adds real dollars to what it actually costs to make your truck whole again after a wreck. and every single one needs its own line written into your file. I had a client with a $900 winch mounted on the front bumper that never got mentioned to the insurer. Not out of dishonesty, just because it never crossed his mind as something worth a phone call. Truck got totaled in a highway accident that was not even his fault. That $900 was gone, just like it never existed, because as far as the paperwork was concerned, it never did. One more thing while we are on this, because it does not fit neatly into any single feature, but it touches all 7 of them. Get your truck reappraised every 2 to 3 years, not just the day you first bought the policy. Classic truck values move. Parts get harder to find every single year. A truck that appraised at $30,000 5 years ago might be worth $45,000 today, especially if you have kept adding original trim pieces and correct date-coded parts along the way. If your agreed value never gets updated, you are paying for coverage built on a number that stopped being true years ago, and in a total loss, that old number is exactly what you will get, no more. No matter what the truck actually looked like the day it went on the flatbed. Let me put 2 trucks side by side so this sticks with you. Same year, same model, same $45,000 build. One owner made those 7 phone calls and one did not. Both trucks get hit by an uninsured driver running a red light. Total loss on both. The truck with everything declared and endorsed gets a check for the full $45,000. No argument, no back and forth, payment inside 3 weeks. The truck with the undeclared lift, the undeclared tires, and the undeclared winch gets reappraised down to what the truck would be worth stock. Factory height, factory rubber, no winch. And the check comes back around $28,000. Same truck, same accident, $17,000 difference, and the only thing that separated those 2 outcomes was whether somebody picked up a phone. 7 features, 7 phone calls most owners have never made in their life. That is the whole gap between the truck sitting proud in your driveway and the truck your insurance company is actually contractually willing to pay for. Here is what this really costs people, and it is not the premium. The premium is nothing, a few dollars a month most of the time. It is the day the truck is sitting on a flatbed in your own driveway, and the adjuster is standing there with a clipboard telling a grown man that the $8,000 he put into that truck over the last 3 years does not exist on paper. So as far as the company is concerned, it does not exist at all. I have seen marriages strained over less than that. I have seen men sell trucks their own fathers built with their hands, rather than fight an appeal process they never understood how to win in the first place. There is a second cost too, one people do not think about until it happens to them. Even on a total loss, most standard policies take possession of the wreck once they cut the check. For a numbers matching truck with rare body panels and an engine nobody makes anymore, losing the salvage is losing a small fortune in usable parts you will never get your hands on again. Some specialty carriers, the ones that actually understand old trucks, offer what is called a right to keep or cherished salvage option, letting you hang on to the wreck after a full payout so you can part it out or rebuild it yourself. Almost nobody asks for it, because almost nobody knows to ask. The old timers around here have a saying about paperwork that used to sound cold to me the first time I heard it. If it is not written down, it did not happen. Now I think it might be the single most honest sentence in the whole insurance business. Your truck is not what is parked in the driveway catching the evening light. Your truck, as far as the check that gets written after a wreck, is exactly and only what is typed into that file sitting in some office you will never set foot in. So here's what I want you to do tonight. Not next week, not after the next car show. Pull up your policy. Read the modifications section, all of it, even the boring part with the small print. Make a list of everything on your truck that did not come from the factory floor. The lift, the tires, the engine, the winch, the light bar, every last one of them. Call your agent first thing tomorrow morning and read that list out loud, item by item, and ask them to confirm each one is written into your file as a proper endorsement. It takes about 20 minutes on the phone. It costs most people nothing, or close to it. And it is the entire difference between a check that makes you whole again and a check that makes you want to put your fist straight through a wall. Tell me in the comments what is sitting on your truck right now that you have never once called your agent about. I read every single one of them, and I mean that. Next time, I want to show you the 3 questions to ask before you ever hand a shop your keys for restoration work. Because the wrong answer to any one of them can quietly cost you the whole agreed value on your policy before a single wrench even gets picked up.